The law that shook the stars, the grand hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with tension. Over 100 alien races sat in floating chairs, their translators humming softly. Eyes glowed, antennae twitched, tails curled. Everyone was waiting. Then, from the center podium, High Chancellor Ogren stood. His long purple robe dragged behind him like spilled ink. His voice echoed, translated instantly in every language across the galaxy. By unanimous decision of the Galactic Council. Terran space is now forbidden. The hall went silent. No vessel may enter it, Ogren continued. No communication, no contact, no travel. Anyone violating this law will face immediate destruction. The crowd erupted. Some cheered. Some looked worried. Others whispered to their aides, confused. But none dared speak aloud against the decision. Only one did not move. Ambassador Varathil of the Lorai people. She was young, curious, and unlike the other council members. Her silver skin shimmered faintly under the hall's lights, but her eyes were fixed on the center of the chamber, unblinking. Her race owed much to humans. When their home planet was dying, it was Terran engineers who came with machines that saved their oceans. So why now? Why this? Back at her station, Varathil leaned forward and activated her private holoscreen. She tapped quickly, opening old records. Images of humans helping alien children, repairing broken cities after wars, and risking their lives for species who once called them savages. Why ban the humans? Her aide whispered. It's fear. The old empires remember what humans did in the Silence War. No one defeated them. They just stopped fighting. Varathil replied softly. That's what scares them the most. Humans chose peace, not because they were weak, but because they were tired. A day passed. Across the stars, news spread fast. Galactic Net broadcasted it non-stop. Breaking, Terran Space banned, new Galactic Law passed. Fear of human retaliation behind closed doors? Is Earth preparing for war? But Earth didn't reply. No messages, no protest, no warships, nothing. They just stayed silent. In the outer rim, near the edge of the Sol system, a Terran scout vessel floated in deep space. It had been monitoring the Council from a distance for weeks. The crew heard the new law before it even reached their own people. Captain. Rourke stood at the front of the ship, arms crossed, his face lit by the dim red glow of alert lights. So, he muttered. They finally did it. His second in command, a young woman named Sarah, looked pale. What now, sir? Rourke didn't answer at first. He opened a small drawer beside the console. Inside was a sealed black chip. He inserted it into the mainframe. A low hum filled. The ship. Send this message, he said, to United Terran Command. Encrypt at highest level. What should I say? Sarah asked. Rourke's voice was flat, cold. They've made the mistake. We are not what they think we are. Activate Warden Protocol. Earth stays quiet, but not blind. Sarah sent it. Moments. Later, the ship detected something. A faint shimmer, like light bending. Sir, unknown signature approaching. Cloaked. Could be a stealth probe. Rourke nodded. Let it see us. Let them know. We're still watching. Then the ship powered. Down lights, running silently, drifting like space debris. But inside, the humans were ready, calm, waiting. Back in the Galactic Council, Ogren received a secret message. It simply read, Warden Protocol confirmed. Heed your own law, Chancellor. Do not come closer. He dropped the data pad. His hands trembled. Somewhere deep under Earth's surface, in a hidden base carved into the bones of the planet, giant machines powered up, ancient defense systems built not to conquer, but to protect. Their cores glowed softly, like sleeping titans ready to wake. They had not been used in a century. But now, they stirred. In the council hall, Varathil looked at the stars projected above her. She whispered. They didn't scream. They didn't protest. They just smiled. And that smile terrified the galaxy more than any weapon ever could. The silence before the storm. The stars turned cold around Earth. Trade ships vanished from the space lanes. Cargo lines rerouted. Diplomats cut their ties. Earth became a ghost on every galactic map. No ships in. No ships out. But Earth didn't say a word. That silence spread fear more than any threat could. In the newsrooms of the galactic core, holo anchors whispered uneasy updates. It's been 4 standard days since the Terran quarantine began. No response from Earth. No protest. No activity. Are they hiding something? The Galactic Council acted confident. They told the galaxy, it is for peace, for stability. Humans are unpredictable. But even their own people weren't convinced. On the distant planet Alarak 7, a university student named Luno watched old footage of humans with wide, worried eyes. His professor had shown them a clip, a human pulling an alien child out of rubble during a planetary war. The child had been a member of a race once at war with Earth. The human soldier had smiled, despite blood on his face. "You're safe now, little one," he said, in a language not his own. Luno raised a hand. "Professor, if humans were so violent, why do they always show us these videos of them helping?" The professor hesitated, then replied quietly, "Because truth is complicated, and power fears what it cannot control." On Earth, inside a secured mountain bunker, Commander Harlan Graves stood before a vast screen showing the solar system. Each planet blinked with color-coded zones. Each Terran defense satellite tracked cloaked probes entering and leaving. Harlan spoke to a table full of military officers and scientists. "So, they've done it. They've locked us out of the stars, but we always knew this day would come. We didn't build our silence out of fear. We built it out of patience." He pressed a button. The screen changed to a word glowing red. Project Warden, Phase 1, ShadowNet. A young engineer looked up. "Do we go loud?" "No," Harlan said. "We go invisible. The galaxy wants to pretend we're not here? Fine, let's vanish. In Toisi. Every Terran colony. Satellites went dark. Terran ships disappeared from public routes. Civilian networks went silent. But underground, in the shadows, Earth moved, quietly, efficiently, like a storm forming beneath calm skies. Back on the Council, station orbiting Genora Prime, Ambassador Varathil walked alone through the archives wing. She had spent days digging through old treaties, war records, medical reports, anything about humans. She found a report from the Council's secret files, dated 92 years ago. Terran. Forces used no weapons during the siege of Thrax. They simply blocked the sun using orbital mirrors until the invaders surrendered. Not a single life was lost. And another. When the planet Droska was invaded, Earth sent ships, no troops, just food and medicine. They won the war by kindness. So why the fear? Why the lies? She placed her palm on a wall console and whispered, "Show me." Project Silence. The wall opened, revealing a locked record. She bypassed the Council's security. She had friends who had begun to doubt. The file opened. Her eyes widened. A secret vote. Years ago, top Council leaders had decided that humans must be isolated not for war, but because they were too influential. They could sway dying empires, win over entire planets with aid. No army could stop them, because they never needed one, and that terrified those in power. Varathil closed the file. Her hands shook. "They're not dangerous," she whispered. "They're free, and we fear freedom." At the edge of the galaxy, in a quiet system known only to spies and smugglers, a tiny Terran drone drifted past an asteroid belt. It looked broken, but inside, It was alive. It had one job: watch the Watchers. And it was watching a secret galactic probe as it prepared to enter the solar system, violating the very law the Council had passed. The drone scanned its target. Council stealth probe, tracking, logging violation. Do not engage. Let them see what we allow them to see. The drone turned and left, and far beneath Earth's oceans, something ancient stirred. A deep-sea facility sealed long ago suddenly came alive. Lights blinked in forgotten halls, machines hummed, and a voice echoed through the tunnels. Initiate ARC protocol. The stars may forget us, but we will remember them. Back in her room aboard the Council station, Varathil sent a secret message to her father on the Lorai homeworld. Father, they're hiding the truth. The humans didn't threaten us. The Council did. The silence from Earth. It's not surrender. It's warning. She paused, then added, and I don't think we're ready for what comes next. The first breach knot. Everyone respected the law. In the dark corners of the galaxy, laws were just suggestions. And Zernak the Pirate King never cared for suggestions. He stood aboard the bridge of his war cruiser, the Black Claw, grinning. His ship's metal hull was covered in trophies, skulls, rusted swords, and stolen flags from dozens of planets. Around him, 10 other pirate ships hovered like hungry wolves. We're going in, Zernak said. No one tells Zernak where he can or can't fly. His second-in-command, a snake-eyed alien named Feral, looked uneasy. But it's Terran Space. You've seen what happened to the last scouts. Zernak spat on the floor. Scouts are weak. We're not. If Earth's so dangerous, then that means they've got treasure. He raised his clawed hand. Let's raid the Forbidden Zone. And with that, 11 pirate ships jumped into Terran space. At first, everything seemed calm. The stars looked the same. The planets spun quietly. No alarms, no defense fleets, not even a whisper. Zernak laughed. See? All bark, no teeth. But then, one by one, the pirate ships began to disappear. First, the Storm Slicer vanished from radar. No explosion, just gone. Then the Fang Maw. Then the Sky Ripper. Zernak's crew panicked. We're losing them! No signs, no damage, they just disappear! Zernak snarled. Where's the enemy? Show me something to shoot! But there was nothing to see. No enemy, no light, just silence. A voice whispered through the ship's speakers, cold, metallic, and emotionless. You were warned. This is not your hunting ground. Leave before you join the Forgotten. Zernak screamed. Who dares threaten me? I am Zernak! Suddenly, the stars around his ship bent. A strange shadow appeared. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't alive. But it was watching. And then it moved. Zernak felt fear for the first time in decades. Retreat! He shouted. All ships! Retreat! And then, the Black Claw was swallowed by darkness. 3 days later, only one ship reappeared near the edge of neutral space. It drifted slowly, power flickering, hull cracked and blackened. A rescue crew from a nearby outpost pulled it in. Inside was one survivor, Feral. He was found curled in a corner, eyes wide, skin pale, shaking. The medics scanned him. No wounds, no physical damage, but he kept repeating one line. We woke it. We woke something. It watched us through the stars. It didn't kill us for hate. It erased us. Like a storm erases a name from the sand. The footage went viral. Billions watched Feral's broken face across the galaxy, and fear grew because Earth never spoke. Earth never claimed revenge. Earth just erased. In the Galactic Council chambers, panic spread like wildfire. They said Terran space was secure, shouted one delegate. Ogren, the High Chancellor, sat silent, sweat rolling down his neck. Ambassador Varathil watched from the side. Her face was pale but calm. She had seen the footage. She had read the black reports from the probe they sent before, and now she knew. Earth was awake. She accessed a secure console in her quarters and replayed a fragment from the destroyed stealth probe that had entered the solar system days ago. The probe's last image showed a colossal machine floating above Earth, silent, unmoving, eyes glowing like suns. A voice had spoken in old Earth language. "You shut the door. We did not lock it. But you placed fear above memory. Now, fear is all you shall remember." Varathil leaned back in her chair. Her heart beat fast. She whispered to herself, "They didn't build walls. We did. And now, we're trapped outside." On Mars, hidden in a red canyon, a Terran outpost observed everything, from the Council's shaky broadcasts to pirate comms. Inside, a young soldier named Eli stared at the screen. He turned to his commander. A scarred veteran named Raza Eli asked, "Why don't we respond? Why don't we say something?" Raza shook his head slowly. "Because words are weapons too, and silence is the sharpest one we have." Eli's voice cracked. "But don't we want peace?" Raza stared into the red Martian sky. "We do," he said. "But they didn't choose peace. They chose fear. Now they have to understand, fear has weight." In the darkest corners of the galaxy, pirate clans burned their flags. Merchant ships refused to fly near Terran borders, even with armed escorts. A new phrase began spreading across space, whispered in hushed tones. "Terran silence is not safety. It's warning. And Earth?" Earth still said nothing. But something new appeared in orbit. A ring-shaped structure with glowing arms, slowly rotating, pulsing like a heartbeat. No one knew what it was. But everyone understood one thing. Earth was no longer alone. It was watching. And it was waiting. Earth's graveyard of secrets, the Galactic Council probe drifted near the edge of Mars, silent as dust. Inside, Ambassador Varathil sat strapped in, her silver eyes wide, her breathing slow but heavy. She was not a soldier, not a spy, but she had broken Council law to come here, to see Earth, to see the truth. The probe systems flashed red, auto-detection, cloaked sensor beams from Mars's surface. Something had found them. Then, the sky lit up, not with fire, but with light so clean, so perfect, it felt holy. Shapes moved, giant rings, black spires, and machines larger than cities floating between Mars and Earth. There were no weapons firing. No alarms, just silence, and watchers, massive watchers, like titans standing guard over a sleeping world. The probe panicked. Its AI tried to flee. "Intrusion detected. Exiting zone. Retreat engaged." Too late. The light swallowed them. Varathil screamed as her seat buckled and the floor cracked. The probe spun violently, everything blurred. Then, impact. Dust flew high over the Martian desert as a black escape pod crashed into the red soil. The hatch blew open. Varathil tumbled out, coughing, her elegant diplomatic robes torn, skin scraped, hair matted with dust. She staggered. Up, gasping for breath. Nothing but silence. Red plains stretched endlessly in every direction. The stars above were strange from this angle, too close, too cold. Then, footsteps. Varathil turned sharply. A figure approached through the dust. Slowly, calmly, a human, male, tall, in dark armor that hummed softly with energy. His helmet clicked as he stopped a few meters from her. Varathil stepped back. She expected a weapon, interrogation, arrest. But instead, he offered her a canteen of water. She hesitated, then drank. The human spoke, his voice filtered but steady. "You're off course, Ambassador." Varathil coughed. You know who I am?" He nodded. "We've been watching." She trembled. "Why didn't you shoot down the probe?" He looked toward the sky. "Because we wanted you to see. To understand, she followed his gaze and saw them, machines the size of moons, circling Earth like silent guardians. They didn't shine or speak, but they were there, waiting, watching. Varathil's knees gave out. She sat in the dirt, overwhelmed. "What are they?" she whispered. The human answered, "Reminders." "Of what?" He paused. "Of what we can be, when the galaxy forgets what we were." He helped her stand. Together, they walked to a hidden outpost nearby, a Terran listening station buried beneath Martian rock. Inside, it was quiet, cool, clean. No guards, no chains, just screens filled with data and stars. Varathil looked around. "Why are you showing me this?" she asked. The human removed his helmet. He was young, calm eyes. A scar over his left cheek. He said, "Because you came looking for truth, not control." He tapped a panel. A hologram appeared, an old recording. Varathil watched in silence. A war zone, alien soldiers fighting. And in the middle, humans. Not killing, saving. They carried the wounded, shielded children, disarmed bombs. Their flags were buried, their weapons left behind. She asked softly, "Why hide this?" He replied, "Because peace makes the council weak. And humans don't make good puppets." Varathil's voice trembled. "Then why didn't you resist the ban? Why let them isolate you?" The man looked at her, eyes calm like the sea. "Because you can't fight lies with more lies. We waited for someone to ask the right question, and now you're here. In space, above Earth, one of the Watchers. Turned slightly, not to attack, but to observe." Inside its core, a glowing AI named Sentinel Prime woke for the first time in a century. It processed the recent data. Alien vessel crashed, non-aggressive, communication restored. Directive 01, preserve. Directive 2, warn. And with that, Sentinel Prime pulsed a single message across deep space frequency. Not a threat, not a command, just a sentence. "We have not forgotten." Have you? Back on Mars, Varathil sat with the Terran officer near a small heater. They shared silence. Then she asked, "What happens next?" He replied, "That depends on what you tell them." She shook her head. "They won't believe me. They're too afraid of you." The officer leaned forward, voice soft. "Then tell them this. We were not the first to be betrayed by fear. But we might be the last to forgive it." She stared at him, stunned. "You'd forgive them?" He smiled slightly. "Forgiveness isn't for them. It's for us." Outside, the dust settled, and in orbit, the machines of Earth stood still. Not as weapons, but as monuments, not of war, but of warnings. The galaxy had made Earth a ghost, but ghosts remember, and sometimes they return. A human promise. The Martian wind howled softly outside the Terran outpost. But inside, Ambassador Varathil sat in silence. She had seen Earth's Watchers. She had walked through the dust with a human who didn't raise a weapon, and now she sat across from him, trying to understand what no one in the galaxy dared ask. Why? Why did humanity choose silence over strength? Why did they let themselves be feared? The Terran officer, Captain Elias Rook, stood near the window, looking out into the red plains. His shadow stretched across the room, long and still. Varathil finally broke the silence. "Why didn't you stop the council? You had machines, power, even kindness. You could have spoken out." Elias didn't turn around. He just said quietly, "Because when someone fears you, no words will reach them. Only time will." He turned, walking back to the small metal table. He placed a small black case in front of her. "Open it," he said. Varathil hesitated, then slowly unlatched the box. Inside was a medal. Simple, silver, old. The symbol on it was unfamiliar to her. It looked like a flame wrapped in a hand. Elias spoke gently. "That's the Medal of Mercy. It was given to Terran soldiers who saved lives during war, even when they were ordered not to." He tapped the case. "My grandfather got this during the Dravak Rebellion. He saved alien children from a burning colony. The council branded him a criminal for breaking the rules. But the people he saved? They called him a hero." Varathil whispered. "What happened to him?" Elias smiled faintly. "He retired. Opened a bakery. Never told his story again." She looked at the medal. It was old, scratched, almost forgotten. But it held weight. A weight no law could erase. She looked up. "So the silence, it was your choice?" Elias nodded. "After the Silence War, the council needed someone to blame. We were too helpful, too curious, too willing to cross lines. Peace was growing, but not under their control." He leaned forward, eyes steady. "So we made a promise. If they feared us, we would leave. Not in anger, not in hate, but in warning." Varathil felt her throat tighten. "And the Watchers in orbit?" she asked. Elias answered, "They're not weapons. They're reminders. We named them after the planets we once helped. Droska, Veltrin, Lorai." She gasped. "My people?" He nodded. "Your home would have died from the C virus. We gave the cure, no strings attached. That was 72 cycles ago." Varathil stared at him. "Then why didn't we remember?" Elias didn't smile. He looked tired. "Because the council controls the story, and stories shape fear." In the outpost's war room, he showed her a map of Terran presence. Dozens of dots blinked across the galaxy. Not warships, but hidden aid stations, listening posts, and emergency shelters. Varathil read the files. Places the council abandoned. Places humans still protected. One report showed a human medic team rescuing a crashed alien cruiser, even after being declared hostile. Another showed food drops on starving colonies done in secret. No credit, no reward, just a promise kept. She looked at Elias again. "You never left the galaxy. You just stepped back." He nodded. "To see who would look for us. Who would ask." Outside on Mars, the red winds began to settle. Above, in orbit, the Watchers pulsed softly. Earth was still silent, but now not hidden. It was waiting, not to attack, but to see if the galaxy could remember what it once loved. Varathil stood by the landing pad the next morning. She had sent a signal home, encrypted, masked, but direct. She didn't know if the council would intercept it, but she sent it anyway. She turned to Elias, her voice quiet but clear. "I want to help you, not as a spy, not as a diplomat, but as a person. I want the truth to be heard." Elias gave her a small device. "Then take this. It holds our story. Uncut, unedited, real. No lies." She took it and held it close. Then she asked one last question. "What if the council sees this as a threat?" Elias replied, his voice steady. "We are not a threat, but we are not broken either. We stayed silent out of mercy. If they break that mercy, then we will remind them. Earth did not survive because we were strong. We survived because we promised never to become monsters, even when the galaxy painted us as one." As Varathil's ship rose from Mars's surface, she looked down one last time. Elias stood in the dust, helmet back on, hand raised. She raised, hers too, and whispered through her breath, "They think they buried you, but you were roots. And now, the galaxy will see what grows." The broadcast across the stars, silence shattered, not with weapons, not with war, but with a voice, and it came from Earth. The Galactic Council was in session when the interruption happened. Delegates were debating trade sanctions against Terran sympathizers. High Chancellor Ogren was speaking when every screen in the hall flickered. Lights dimmed, consoles froze, and then across every major channel, every public screen, every private comm, a face appeared. Human, old, calm, wearing no medals, no armor, just eyes that had seen too much. He spoke. "We are the children of Earth. You closed your skies to us. You called us dangerous. You called us unpredictable. You whispered stories of war, but buried the truth of our kindness." Varathil stood in her private quarters aboard her cruiser, staring at the screen. It was him. High Admiral Silas Kane, long thought dead. The man who led the last Terran peace armada during the Silence War. His voice was quiet, but each word struck like thunder. "You say you fear us, but what you fear is that we chose mercy. You wanted monsters to justify your walls, but we walked away because we refused to become what you accused us of." Across the galaxy, people stopped what they were doing. Alien. Children stared. Veterans wept. Old friends from forgotten wars clutched their chests in shock. On the mining world of Veltrin, workers dropped their tools as the broadcast played. On the floating cities of Lorax 9, old records were pulled from archives, matching stories with the truth unfolding before them. Kane continued, his voice never rising. "You forgot who stood beside you when your planets burned. Who rebuilt your homes when your leaders abandoned you. We gave you water, medicine, blood, not for glory, but because we believed the stars belonged to everyone." The screen changed. Images rolled. A human shielding a Lori child from falling. Debris, Terran engineers building storm shields on alien worlds. Medical teams in the mud, in the cold, in the dark, saving lives no one else would touch. Varathil felt her chest tighten. These were not legends. These were truths, locked away by the Council's lies. Then the screen returned to Admiral Kane. "We did not forget you, but you forgot us, and now you fear our silence because deep down, you know it was never weakness, it was patience." He leaned closer to the camera. "This is not a threat. We do not seek war. But understand this. We were never gone. We were watching. We were remembering. And we were preparing. Not for conquest, but for truth." In the council chamber, chaos erupted. Some shouted for the feed to be cut. Others sat frozen, shamed. Ogren barked orders. "Find the source! Shut it down!" But the feed was untraceable. The transmission didn't come from Earth. It came from every Terran outpost, ship, satellite, at the same moment, a coordinated release, planned years in advance. Then the screen changed again. This time it wasn't Kane. It was Ambassador Varathil. She appeared beside him, alive, calm, and speaking clearly. "This message is for the people, not the politicians. I have seen the truth. I walked on Mars. I stood with a Terran soldier who offered me water, not chains. Earth never abandoned us. We abandoned Earth." She paused, holding up a data crystal. "This holds the proof the Council tried to bury, and I give it to every world that still remembers what it means to hope." The screen faded to black, but a final message remained. Terran space remains closed, not by force, but by choice. When you are ready, knock as friends, not judges. Then silence returned, not cold, but heavy, honest. In the days that followed, the galaxy cracked. Worlds once loyal to the Council questioned their leaders. People marched with images of Terran medics, not Terran weapons. Old veterans spoke up. Survivors of human kindness shared their stories. One by one, secrets fell apart. The Council tried to claim fake news, but the evidence was undeniable. Too many stories, Too many witnesses, too much truth. And yet, Earth said nothing else. Broadcast had been their only answer. They went silent again. But this time, the galaxy was not silent. This time, they listened. Far above Earth, the Watchers dimmed their lights. Their mission was not vengeance. It was remembrance, and now, the stars remembered, not the lies, but the promise. The law falls, but the humans don't step forward. The Council broke first, not Earth. Just 1 week after the broadcast, the emergency assembly was called. Inside the Grand Hall, Chancellor Ogren's voice trembled as he read from a datapad. The Galactic Law, declaring Terran Space Forbidden, is hereby revoked, effective immediately. The words felt like dust in his mouth. No applause followed, only silence. A silence of shame, a silence of realization. But it wasn't Earth who forced them, it was truth. And truth is louder than fear. Ambassador Varathil stood at the edge of the council chamber, hands folded behind her back. She didn't smile. She didn't celebrate. She simply watched. She had done her part. The galaxy had listened, and Earth had said nothing more. No reply, no transmission, no thank you, no anger. Only quiet stars, blinking coldly in the distance. A new kind of fear took hold in the council. What if Earth didn't want to come back? What if they were done? The council sent envoys. They hovered at the edge of Terran space, blinking their lights in diplomatic patterns, broadcasting peaceful messages every hour. No response. They waited. For days, then weeks. Nothing. Until one Terran drone appeared. No weapons, no markings, just a soft white light. It hovered in front of the envoy ship and projected a single message. We watched you rewrite our name. We watched you bury our voice. Now we choose when the gates open. Not you. And then, the drone vanished into the stars. On Earth, life went on. Children played in green fields. Scientists worked in quiet labs. Beneath the surface, farmers tilled soil under massive sky domes on Luna and Mars. The defense systems remained silent. The warships stayed docked. The ancient watchers floated above Earth like patient statues. They were not preparing for war. They were preserving peace, a peace they built through sacrifice, a peace that cost them their place in the galaxy. On Lori Prime, young students gathered in a hall where Varathil gave her first public speech since her return. She held up the Terran data crystal. This, she said softly, holds not just images, but memories. She showed them scenes of human medics, of rescue ships hovering over burning alien cities, of children being cradled by strangers in armor who had no reason to help. And finally, she played a voice recording, a Terran soldier, speaking to a wounded alien. We don't save you because it earns us peace. We save you because it's the right thing to do. That's the only law we follow. The crowd went quiet. Then, applause. Not wild, not noisy, just real. Meanwhile, in the farthest edge of known space, a new report arrived. A small human ship had been spotted, not near Earth, but in a forgotten system where a colony had collapsed long ago. The ship wasn't armed. It carried seeds, tools, medical supplies. The transmission from the ship was short. To those still alive, we heard you. Help is coming. When questioned, the council had no answer. How did they know? One delegate asked. How are they already there? Another whispered. No one knew, because the humans had never left the galaxy. They just stopped talking, and while the stars shouted politics and lies, Earth had listened quietly to pain, to suffering, to need. And now, where no one dared go. Humans went first. 1 year passed, then 2. Slowly the fear faded. A few alien ships were allowed to dock near Earth's orbit, but never land. They were told politely, Observe but do not enter. The galaxy finally understood. Earth didn't want power. Earth wanted respect. And until that was returned, not with words, but with actions, the gate would stay closed, not locked, not armed, just a quiet. On the cliffs of Pacifica, a Terran continent reborn from old Earth soil, Captain Elias Rook stood watching the sunrise. Beside him, a girl ran barefoot through the grass, his daughter. She looked up. "Papa, are they coming today?" He shook his head. "Not yet. They're still learning." She nodded, innocent, then smiled. "We'll wait, right?" Elias smiled back. "Yes, that's what we do best." He looked up at the sky, where the Watchers still floated, not as weapons, but as symbols of restraint, of patience, of promise. Because Earth had learned something powerful, the strongest voice is the one that speaks only when it must. And now, the galaxy finally knew it too.